The bliss of the abyss, it's here now.
So, Rob Feldman, my brother from another mother, welcome back to the Bliss of the Abyss. It's so good to see your face. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing. It's such a difficult question because you're so happy to be, alive, and you're happy when your relatives are safe. But overall, it's a fucking dreadful disaster. It has been. I think it's our third meeting like this because. As I recall, like the first time I was in Dnipro, I don't remember what I was doing. I was getting my passport.
Yeah, and you were having a beer. You had to catch a train or a bus. That's what you were doing.
Yeah, something. I had to catch a train. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still didn't get my new. Instead of a passport, I applied for an ID card. It still hasn't happened. It's like 5 or 6 months. Then the second time we spoke, I was in Dnipro again, but the war has started.
Yeah, it was like 2 weeks into the war.
Yeah. And now we are 3 months in this bloody war. But I have no complaints from my side. I got very lucky. I became a father.
Yes, congratulations.
Yeah, she's called Polina Javelina, so after the javelin.
Amazing. That's her middle name. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there are even I'll show you. We even have a mural. What the fuck was it? I'm sorry, I'm swearing too much, but it's
totally fine. It's totally fine. I think if anyone's upset about that, they need to probably...
That's her playing the piano. I'm not sure if you can see that.
Yeah, I can see that. Already a musician.
That's some of my mates, the actors, who went to serve in the army.
Wow.
Just to show you that, as artists, we're very fragile, right? As artists, but actually quite strong. And all those guys, they've been doing amazing job as actors. Just doing films, theater. So this bloody thing is just a waste of their time and a waste of their life. That they have so many other better things to do.
Yeah.
But when shit hits the fan, there's no red carpet anymore. It's serving your country, and I'm very proud of these guys. I wish I was with them right now.
Oh, but you have what is she, 1 month, even that year-old? You have to, your first duty of care is to her, isn't it?
Yeah, and it feels like she's been protecting us, and kept us going and being calm about everything.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm jumping from one thing to another.
One thing to another. Let's do it however you want. So what are we looking at here? This is a map.
This is a live UA map. So I guess mostly we'll be talking about war because it's impossible not to talk about it. So basically, if any of you guys who are listening to us is interested in knowing, getting the latest updates on what's going on in Ukraine and what the things look like, this is live UA map. You can also get an app on your iPhone or Android, and basically what it does, I think it's been created by guys from Dnipro actually, because Dnipro is quite famous for IT guys who develop a lot of apps. But back in the day, they used to build spaceships.
Oh, wow. So it's the tech center.
Yeah. Well, now that industry went down a bit, and, like a lot of factories, it's really hard to maintain them if you don't have like a good program and good management.
Right.
So a lot of these guys, they switched to IT, and they've been doing really well. So here, you see that those red zones, that's the ones that have been occupied by Russian Orks. I'm not going to be diplomatic about Russians. Before, I spoke about three kinds of Russians, the ones you make friends. I guess now I'll be, much more
blunt.
Yeah.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me. So you can see, these are all bombs. Sorry.
So basically, you get the latest updates from social media, like Twitter, Facebook, whatever. So you can click on those and find out what actually happened, how many casualties there've been, what kind of strike it was.
Oh wow!
I mean, journalists have been using it.
Right.
That's kind of our the first thing you go to.
Yeah, right. That's so it's a live update of the situation on the ground. I've got it up on mine as well. So there's deaths, three killed in shelling in Kharkiv region. There's all these bombs. There's a gas symbol there. It's absolutely terrifying. And of course, since I last spoke to you, there's so much has changed in the situation. I mean, I guess the most recent massive event was Mariupol. And the Azov battalion being absolutely blasted and eventually having to surrender to the Russians. And I've heard some rumors that they're going to be like tried in criminal court and all kinds of horrible things like that. That was, and I saw some pictures of them running up a Russian flag, and then they're going to hold like a referendum. Out of how many people are even there. It's an absolute travesty. But I think that's probably the biggest thing that's happened. And then there's also the Donbass. Obviously, that offensive has swept further west. But in terms of the actual west of Ukraine, like Kiev, Lviv, there's been some isolated things, but Ukraine has basically taken back all of that territory. Am I right?
For now, yes. There's still some worries that, from Belarus, there would be another offensive. So I hope we're preparing for it well. It's hard to follow all of it because
of course.
Lately I've been working as a fixer, which means like interpreter, driver, a guy who gets access to different things for journalists. And about 70% of the time, my job is to say to the journalist, we cannot do this, unfortunately.
So, I was going to talk to you the other day, weren't I? And you were talking to the LA Times. So presumably this was in a similar situation. Can you tell me sort of a bit about what was involved there and what you had to do, what you had to say no to?
With them, we went... because I was with them for about 5 days. Amazing guys. I've learned a lot from them. I had about 3 teams by now. So guys from Al Jazeera, the English one, guys from AFP from France, a great photographer from Magnum Photos. It's an agency that it's run by photographers. And these guys from LA Times, so we spent 5 days together. I showed them around Dnipro. We did a few trips to Zaporizhia, then Dnipro again. Then we went to Kramatorsk, and which is, let's have a look at it on the map. So, where is that link? Oh crap!
Whoops! I think it was.
I've pressed stop sharing.
It's that one, yeah. It's that one there.
That tab, yeah. So let's zoom in a bit. It's very good in terms of geography for everybody because by now people heard about Bucha, Irpin,
yeah,
those kind of
yeah. That was
some of the places I didn't know before.
Right. It's a massive
right.
country.
So this is Kramatorsk.
Oh, so that's pretty close to the border there.
Yes. so it feels like a hub, that gets people out, everybody who needs to evacuate from different sides.
Right.
So we went there just for one day. I mean, we were planning to stay, but there was nowhere to stay. Everything was actually fully booked. Everything that has been working, because like a lot of journalists are trying to do as much work as they can.
Right.
And that day when we went in, the electricity went down, gas was off. What else? Water went off at some point.
God.
So we could not stay, and we had to go back to Dnipro. But what actually the plan might have been was to take one evacuation buses, or to do a story on that. And the next day we read on the social media that one of the French journalists got killed by shelling because he was one of those buses. He was doing material exactly about that. Yeah, so it's very unfortunate. A young guy, I think it's his first trip to hot spots like this.
Yeah.
So it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, that's the risk of that kind of reporting. It's such a crucial thing, but it's really dangerous. Have you been close to any explosions or shelling or anything like that, or have you?
Yeah. About a month ago, I was around Severodonetsk, and I'm sure you might have heard that.
That's all over the news here now. That's like
exactly
like that's where the Russians are trying to take next.
Because basically they're attacking from three sides. They're trying to get it into the ring.
In a circle.
And I hope our guys are getting out, because there is no point of, you get in the ring.
And it's over. They cut the supply lines.
Difficult, yeah.
So you were there. You were actually in that city.
We were there, months ago. The situation was way better, because they were still like in a bloody forest on the outskirts. They were constantly shelling, some of residential areas. And even in the center of the city, there's still like explosions. There's shelling like every, I don't know, 10, 20 seconds.
My God.
It drives you absolutely crazy. But I was very surprised by some of the locals, because there are some that whatever you tell them, that they will never evacuate. They will just stay. So I saw some, senior people, and they were just walking down the street, like there's this Central Avenue, and there's shelling going everywhere, and we're like in helmets and vests, and it's like, you're shaking.
Oh my God.
You want to be as close to the ground as possible. But those people with plastic bags, they just walk around town, and their body, their body doesn't respond to whatever is going on around. It's as if they're zombies.
Wow.
I mean,
the bravery.
It's I don't know. I think there's a difference between bravery and stupidity. I think when you're in a situation like this, you gotta leave. Because some say it's like, I'm gonna stay here and protect my house.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, what the fuck are you going to protect it with? It's just going to get destroyed. And actually, you staying there, it drives attention. So, if you'll save your life, you can make money, build a new house, do whatever, come back later. You still have options. If you get killed, that's it. That's the end of the game.
So do you think, from their point of view, if they're old and they've lived there a long time, they're like, no one's going to force me out. This is my place. Do you think it's stubborn, maybe?
Some have accepted death. They don't care. Some, unfortunately, I have to admit, but there is a minor percentage that is waiting on Russians
to join. Right.
Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah. I believe they have been brainwashed. That's my opinion, because I saw some of Russian propaganda, and it's...
What did you see? What did you see?
No. It's just their TV channels, whatever they're, showing people 24/7.
Yeah.
Their point of view.
Yeah. I've seen some clips as well. It's utterly cut off from reality, from logic, from everything. And it's just, I don't know, it's disgusting. It's hard to get your head around as well. I saw this one recently of Putin meeting like a wounded soldier and giving him respect. And the sleuths on the internet found that it's exactly the same man he'd met 3 months earlier who was pretending to be a different. So he's just like a KGB stooge. They're just like, yeah, we'll use the same guy again. Why not?
Because he's too scared to come up to some new guy,
Exactly. Yeah. He's so scared and isolated. And now I think there was a senior Ukrainian who said that he's got blood cancer. That was doing the news rounds here. I think it was a high up. It was either a diplomat or a general from Ukraine said Putin had cancer, but he probably wasn't going to kill him straight away.
There have been many rumors. Yeah, that they've been some war experts. They were mentioning that he always has some doctor that specializes in cancer always by his side.
That would be good, wouldn't it? I mean, do you think it would stop the conflict or at least slow it down if he was just taken out or removed or died? Or do you think it would just carry on?
That's a very good question. And unfortunately, I don't have an answer to it. But I hope, it's all going to fall apart, once the guy is gone.
Yeah.
Because, he's been, gaining all that. He's been centralizing all that power around his figure. Whereas I was actually thinking the same thing, about Zelensky, because I think because it was told that, a lot of special Russian units were after him, were trying to kill him, and it didn't happen. I think if it would happen at the beginning of war, that would be very difficult for Ukraine. Can you imagine, finding new leader?
Straight away, the morale would
together.
Be, that would be terrible.
Whereas now, I think they've done a great job, and I think whatever happens next, I think Ukraine will stand its ground. So I think it's very difficult because they have almost unlimited supply of weapons and soldiers, and they don't give a fuck about them, and that's the most horrific thing. Because our medics, we have a lot of doctors in the field. We have a lot of hospitals. They're trying, because I saw the way that they work. They're trying to get every single one as soon as they can, stabilize them as fast as they can. So that's been working really great. I mean, we have cases, like one of my friends from intelligence, he was under shelling, so he got wounded, and basically in 3 hours he went through 3 hospitals.
Wow. Sheesh. Doesn't seem to be operating that way on the Russian side. There's all these, I've seen leaks and stuff like that. And I read this crazy article about the troops who took Chernobyl, fucking idiots. And they'd been digging trenches in this radioactive soil and fighting trench warfare, knee deep, waist deep, neck deep in radioactive, the most radioactive place on the planet. And it's just they just don't give a fuck. They're not engaging in the normal rules of any conflict anyway. They just shell residential buildings. They kill their own troops. They don't bury them. They don't take their dead. They're all these war crimes against Ukrainians. So you mentioned Butcher before. This is the most horrific scenes I've seen from the war. But there's been lots of horrific scenes. It just seems so callous and heartless.
So many we will never have a chance to see, to witness.
Yeah.
it's absolutely insane. I mean, Bucha and Irpin, you know, it's I mean, they are in the spotlight, but at the same time, we have hundreds of other villages that have been completely destroyed, burned to the ground for no fucking reason. I've been to a village where the population was around 350 people. So it's a very small, nice little village.
Yeah.
When we arrived, there were like about 9 people left. And basically what happened, and this village, you know, it's not a strategic place. Ukrainian military has never been there. It's not like, you know, you have to go from one city to the next through it. It was just on the side, you know, nobody, there's nothing to, I mean, it would be quite easy to occupy it.
Right.
So what happened, they had 2 military planes and they dropped 8 bombs in 26 hours, destroyed some of the sheds, some of the houses. Fortunately, didn't kill anybody. And you question, what was the point of all this? I mean, I feel quite good about this because, you know, now they have 8 bombs less and they've only destroyed some sheds and, you know, some houses that they would be much easier to fix. But it's just, I don't know. It's very hard because sometimes the way, you know, the missiles hit, it's very accurate. It's very precise. We must give them. So it's as if, you know, Russia has 2 armies. One army is very professional. It's very dangerous. And our soldiers admitted that, you know, Russian artillery, it's mostly the war of artillery. You know, everyone's been quoting Stalin. Stalin once said that artillery are the gods of war. Their aviation is quite strong, apart from these guys who were to that village. Although maybe they're saboteurs, you know, they were like, okay, I don't want to kill anybody, so I'm gonna pretend that, you know, there was something strategic and there wasn't. Or, I don't know. I've heard that sometimes, you know, they have a few shots before they fly off because it's a very tough job. And, you know, it's hard to keep yourself together. So there's one army that is ridiculously dangerous, you know, and very good at what they do. And the other army, it's like a bunch of fucking idiots who cannot even spell the fucking Z, you know.
What is that Z? Have you seen that in your travels? Are they leaving it everywhere, or is it only on their vehicles?
I have seen it on a few tanks that that got destroyed by our guys. And unfortunately, these guys that showed us around, they got killed about a week later.
Jesus Christ!
And they were like from a volunteer battalion. You know, they won in basically volunteering. They got a lot of support from volunteers, and it was their first fight against fucking tanks. And you know, guys, it's not even they didn't have like javelins or anything like that. They had like an old RPG,
right?
And they took over a few tanks. Protected the village. Basically, what they've described is that they were going to have a fight in the field. So everybody went out to the field. But then the Russians, they went around and went to the village and started attacking from behind. But for our guys, it was more difficult because there were civilians in the village. So that's why, you know, you go to
of course,
have a proper battle.
The battlefield, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, there's been a lot of attacking civilian infrastructure. It's so cowardly and disgusting. And
one of the tanks they showed us, you know, it was like a really cool modern tank, you know, quite expensive.
Yeah.
But those guys inside, I mean, some of them are stealing underwear.
What?
I mean, they're Well, yeah, I'm sure you've seen those guys who've been sending, washing machines and the rest of the stuff that they've been stealing. Basically, there's
what's this? Tell me the story.
You haven't heard the story?
No.
From the north, when they were attacking, some of the guys went back to the border, and basically they've been sending back to their families like washing machines. I don't know, some whatever they could have.
Oh, like looting the civilian houses, TVs, DVDs, all of that kind of stuff.
Underwear. Yes.
Jesus Christmas.
Women's underwear. That's how far it gets. I mean, like, it's ridiculous. I think it was in some American TV series. There was a good joke about, the guy flying a $5 million military airplane, and he gets $200 a week.
Right.
I'm not sure what the situation is like in U.S. Army, but like in Russian Army,
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of underpaid idiots who's never seen, anything good in their life. This is the highlight of their life, going to Ukraine thinking you're liberating something, but actually killing shitloads of civilians, including women and children.
Yeah. Fucking hell. It's been, a lot has happened since we last spoke, hasn't it? It's the grim, slow march. It's the war crimes. It's the cities falling, the referendums, all of this craziness.
Yeah, it's very scary.
It's very scary.
The thing that surprised me a lot is like when we went to Kramatorsk. So basically, I was there a month ago.
Yeah.
And there were like, I don't know, maybe 10% of the population. It's very quiet on the streets. But when we arrived now, a lot of people are coming back.
Coming back from the front line or from the west?
No, they're coming back from the west or central Ukraine to Kramatorsk. But the front line, it got closer.
Yeah. Why?
And, but basically, a lot of them ran out of money. They feel a bit, that it's difficult for them to adapt. They feel like they can do more back in their town. So, it's really difficult.
God. So that's where you just were, and do you feel like that's where it's in Donbass, isn't it? So
it's basically the biggest city in Donetsk that is on the Ukrainian side.
Yeah, because I think from the map I was looking at, almost all of Luhansk is under Russian control at the minute. Just a little part isn't, and about half of Donetsk.
Yeah, it was said that 95% of Lugansk region under the occupation.
Do you think they'll stop there at Donbass, or do you think they keep going?
No, they will not stop. It's not about territory. It's about, you see, I have this idea. Maybe it's crazy, but basically, before the war has started, I was working on a show about Salvador Dali. And we have this show. It's a very interesting interactive show. Fuckers, and they put it all to stop. Actually, on February 24th, we have scheduled a rehearsal of the scene called "The Face of War."
Oh, mate!
And it's based on one of Dali's paintings, which is called "The Face of War." Okay. So. Yeah. So basically, we have 3 acts in this show, and the last one, it's a bit dedicated to Hitler. And there is an interesting thing that Dali mentions in his book, because he wrote a novel about all these events during the Second World War. And one of the characters says that Hitler's only goal is to get killed. He wants to die. He wants to get killed, but he wants it to be on what he thinks are fair terms.
Right.
So he's not going to surrender. He's not going to go easy, but his ultimate goal is to get killed. I think Putin's ultimate goal is to get killed. He wants it really badly. He's been checking if that would happen when he was invading Georgia, when he was invading Chechnya, when he was invading Afghanistan. Every time he's checking, is there anybody who's going to kill him? When the fuck is that going to happen? So that's why, I don't think that Lugan taking over Donbass, Lugansk, Donetsk region will stop it. It's the guy who wants to get killed, and we're not doing a good job at this. We have to...
Got to send the crack troops in there. Got to get him.
We have to give it to him. I mean, he's asking for it all this time.
He really fucking is. If anyone is, it's fucking Vlad, mad Vlad. Yeah, I found this Face of Death. This is look at this, mate. Face of War. There's Dali painting it.
Yeah, that's the one.
Amazing. It's an astonishing image. I love the way Dali kind of looks like a Dali painting himself. Yeah, I didn't know he'd written a novel. Well, yeah.
Oh, it's great. It's called Hidden Faces.
That's interesting.
I actually, that's an interesting thing because it's quite unknown.
I had no idea.
So I'm very happy that our director she chose this material.
How interesting! Yeah, his only novel.
Yeah, and we're planning to go on tour all around Europe, US. We have a group of great Ukrainian actors who are doing amazing job because it's all set in English and with some accents. It's really funny.
Well, maybe, who knows, mate? Soon come. You never know. It could get put back on. I remember I was complaining about my show because COVID screwed it, and we've been trying to get it back. And this puts it into perspective for me because that's COVID. Yours is a war. But speaking of English, you put this post up on your Instagram at Robert Feldman. Give him a follow.
Yeah.
About language, about English and speaking. I just wondered if you could tell me a bit sort of about the story behind it, what the thoughts are with it. It's an interesting post.
Oh, okay. There's some prick in the government in Crimea. He did an interview, and he said basically that we should get rid of English language in Crimea as a subject because, none of the kids from Crimea or Russia will ever go to London, so why bother?
Right. Just further isolate themselves from the world.
Of course. I mean, it's a bad idea if they'll learn English because, then they'll learn more about culture, other countries, and then they'll find out that, their life is a bit shit and, it's been better. You can actually travel around the world. You can actually make a good living doing things you love. Because a lot of the Russian troops, they come from very poor regions.
Yeah.
And our Secret Service, they have been posting some of the phone conversations that, Russian soldiers have with their wives or their mothers. I've never heard a woman swear so much.
Really?
It's like every second word is fuck, shit, fuck, shit, fuck. It's like, are you gonna get me like a washing machine or like
some underwear?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
A golden necklace I need. And I think some of those women, they're happy their men went to war. I think they would be happy if their men would get killed because they would get compensation. I wouldn't doubt if there's, some any domestic violence going on. So actually they feel much better once, their men are gone.
I remember a few years ago they decriminalized domestic violence in Russia. It used to be a crime, and they were like, "No, we don't need that to be a crime." So I think it's a safe assumption to think that probably that is happening in a fair few places.
There's this shit face, Speaker of the State Council of Crimea.
Where is it? Go on.
English is not needed in schools. Why should we go blindly on the path of English? Why teach what is not needed if a person never travels to London?
Says the so-called speaker, who's Vladimir Konstantinov. Right.
Yeah.
Bastard.
This is the future. This is
further. I mean, you saw it with Sweden and Finland joining NATO. There's more and more lines being drawn in the sand.
That's all put and accomplished. He wanted to keep NATO away. He wanted to save Russian speakers. Instead, in Donbass, this is primarily a Russian-speaking population. He killed thousands of them.
Yeah.
And actually, the ones who survived, they quite happily are switching to Ukrainian.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how could you? I mean, like you said, there will be a few in that region who are hoping that Russia wins. But if you live there, how could you possibly support what they're doing? Like, if you actually live there and you're, so what if they speak Russian? It's like they're bombing and shelling and shooting. Like, of course, I don't support them. It's absolutely insane. I remember this one thing that was doing the rounds, and again, like you said, it's like the craziness of the Russian propaganda. It was that they had to go in because there are these chemical plants that are developing DNA to attack Russian genes, and we have to save our people. And it's like, but like you just said, it's like, yeah, a lot of the people there have Russian genes. They speak Russian. What are you talking about?
They have relatives in Russia.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense, and yet it gets eaten up as if it's true by, I don't know. God.
But yeah, those stories about chemical weapons, that our ducks or our geese are attacking them. That's
for fuck's
really
sake.
Something, because those Russian channels with their propaganda 24/7. There's, they get a bunch of those speakers,
Yeah.
and most of all, I enjoy the reaction shots, when somebody's starting to mumble some bullshit, and you get a close-up of another guy listening, and they all get very confused. What the fuck do I need to say next? I don't even know. They must be great actors, because I wouldn't be able to keep my face straight.
I know.
I would crack all the time.
I know. It's just full of bullshit. Yeah, and we know we can't talk about the person that we know that's on those shows, but it's fucking nuts, brother. Yeah, but there's this cool image of you. I mean, there's your beautiful new kid, but there's this cool image of you with this with your fatigues, with your press and your helmet. Somehow your face looks really small. I don't know how you've managed to do that.
I look like a hobo who just stole some fucking invested.
That's cool. Have you have you been given a gun at any point, or are you keeping it strictly like a border that you don't cross, or what's the deal?
Yeah. I'm not trying to wear anything military, not to get everybody confused.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
At some point during one of the journeys, we actually got like between Ukrainian and Russian artillery. Jeez. And like our photographers, they went out to take some pictures. And before that, we went to Popasna. Popasna was absolutely sheltered. It's further east from Kramatorsk. And there was like a lot of heavy shelling. And we met in the basement. We met about 7 civilians, and there was one woman, and they said, please don't talk to her. She's not in the mood. She buried her husband this morning.
God.
So, after that trip to Popasna, I realized I'm not that brave. You know, I think in those areas, you're either a prepared soldier that knows what to do and you fight, or you get out. There's nothing else to do.
Well,
I mean, if you're a stupid journalist like us,
yeah, well, exactly.
You get in, you talk to people, but that's actually the only thing that keeps you sane. You know, during constant shelling, if you're taking an interview, you're speaking to some. In my case, you're translating other people's thoughts.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, I get a feeling that I have none of my own. You know.
Right.
It's a very strange job, because you start to think what other people have said, what have gone through you. But yeah, basically, that's the only thing that keeps you away from panic, is the fact that you are actually on the job. You're doing something.
Well, I think you're being a bit harsh on yourself. I think you are. Look, just because you're not a tank commando Rambo running in with an AK and an RPG, that doesn't mean you're not brave, man. You know. But
we have so many men like that, and some of them they were expecting this to happen. Like one of my mates in the military, he joined out of his free will, and he showed me a picture of his backpack and everything ready, and he took it on February 21.
Okay, well, that's what, 6 days is it before, right? It was the 27th.
This is around three days before that.
3 days. Yeah, but, so he knew.
Yeah, and some of the guys from Azov, I've read their stories when they were arriving to Mariupol, because obviously they were sent there. Yeah. But one of the guys was describing his journey, you know, like, because he was just basically traveling by train, and then he had to take a bus or something like that. And he was describing, like, you know, the further he went, the most unwelcome he felt, you know, like somebody didn't want to give him a ride, and, you know, people, you know, didn't seem happy to see him. I'm sure all of this has changed dramatically by now.
Well, yeah. Are there any members of the Azov battalion that haven't been captured? I think they've all been captured, haven't they? That was
no, not
all.
Because Azov, it's a very big thing. You know, they have Azov in Dnipro, they have Azov in other.
Oh, it's a faction. Oh, I see.
As well, yeah.
I didn't realize that. I thought it was one battalion, so it's an element of certain battalions. Okay, I see.
You know, so sometimes I get confused myself, because there's territorial defense, there's militia, there's military. Yeah. There are a lot of different battalions.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw some of the images from the steelworks when the soldiers and the civilians were still in there towards the end, and so many people with just arms and legs blown off, and just the amount of time they survived in there, so tough, so strong, so scary. Like, you talk about not being brave. I would have just shit my pants. I would have been absolutely terrified. But you can't even surrender, because the Russians will shell you if you try and surrender. So made brave men and women out of that situation. Jesus.
But there's some really incredible things are happening as well. Like I was in Zaporizhia, which is south from Dnipro, and it's a very important city right now, because everything from south, they're trying to get to Zaporizhia desperately. Yeah, let's go. So let's go a bit right, on the right.
Yes.
You see?
Oh.
It does it sometimes.
It got confused, and I ended up in the Middle East somehow. Because the Dnipro's the river, isn't it? So
yeah. And basically, Zaporizhia right under Dnipro. Right. Yeah, there's Zaporizhia. So yeah, like everyone who evacuates the first, like from Mariupol, from Berdansk, the first big city they go to is Zaporizhia.
You were telling a heartwarming story.
About 5 days ago, it got shelled really badly, like one of the shopping malls in the city center. Well, as it have been happening in other places as well. Yeah. And there was a residential area with these houses, and like 62 of them got damaged. 62 houses.
Jesus.
And nobody died because people are living there. They haven't evacuated from that area because they basically live there, and it wasn't under occupation or heavy shelling. But 62 houses damaged, and not a single person has died. Yeah, I have some of the pictures, but they're on the camera that's recording right now.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
So maybe I can send them to you later.
Yeah. Send them to me. I'd love to see them.
Just incredible.
Yeah. Is that the most shocking? What's the most shocking thing you've seen?
Well, Popasna, because it's we're basically on the way there, and we met a few medics who were in the military medical car. But basically, we have this code word for the ones who get killed. You call it 200.
200. So that's
200.
So if you say
so if you say oh, he's 200 now, so that means that he's dead. And there's 300. 300 means wounded.
Right.
So we met these doctors, and they basically what they do, military either brings them wounded 300s, or they come up to them as far as they can, and then they evacuate people. So we saw them. It was it was quite a long distance to the town. And we were like, so what's the situation like in Popasna? And they were like, well, you see those helmets? And it's like, those two guys, they're 200s now. We're like, oh, shit. They were like, yeah, you can drive a few kilometers and you'll see our previous car that got shelled. And I think it will say it all. And you'll just take a picture of the fucking car and go back home. And we were in two cars. So we went in, went past this car. I was like, maybe that's, that doesn't look good. And they were like, and our head of security, he was like, don't worry, he gave a few instructions, we calmed down. So we entered the town, and as you enter already, shelling is on. You can hear it, you can see most of it.
Jeez.
So we parked by the first residential house we saw, and we jumped straight into the basement and, did interviews.
Right.
And we did a bunch of interviews, and I was like, oh, fuck, thank God, let's get out. So we got out of the house, and they noticed some other guys in another basement, and they were like, let's go talk to them as well. I was like, shit, you kidding me? And those guys in another basement, they went, oh, there's also some other people in another house with kids.
Oh, fuck.
And they were like, we're not sure. But they were like, we're not sure if they're still around or they have left. So we looked at it, and that, between the house where we were and that house, there's shelling all the time. And the guys went, no, we think we have enough.
Right. Oh, thank God. Yeah. So just devastated, just bombed out places and people surviving in basements.
Yeah. All the help that we get from UK, from Europe, it really gets to the front line. We were even given English tea
Oh,
from
good.
the guys who got they knocked down the Russian drone.
So, is that necessary? Is it important? Are we sending more useful stuff? I think we're sending javelins as well, aren't we? It's not just tea.
Javelins as well. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Of course.
What the Ukrainians really need right now is tea and biscuits, chaps.
Listen. It's symbolic.
Right.
It raises up the spirits. You still need to have your tea, It's important.
I agree.
Javelins.
Yeah, I agree. The outpouring and the support keeps coming, and it's good to hear that it's getting its way to the front. Because I'm
really sorry. From what I've heard, the prices went up. Like for.
It's your fault, is it? Good. I wanted to blame someone. Yeah. The inflation is crazy.
That's what makes me even more angry, because nothing good came out of it. Like, everyone has suffered. Russia has suffered with all the sanctions, with all the whatever the fuck they're going through. Yeah. I don't care that much. I mean, I have only like 2 friends left, and both of them are leaving Russia as soon as possible. Even some of my relatives I don't want to talk to,
Really,
they're full of shit. Yeah. They think it's all okay. What's going on?
How can they?
Fucking okay.
Unbelievable.
But yeah.
Nothing good. I mean, there's starting to be reports of severe food shortages in Africa as well now. So people are going to start starving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to see some of the farmers. They're doing the best job they can. They basically, the ones that have to go in the fields, they wear vests, and they have some. They're trying to put as much armor around the cabins so they're safe, because sometimes you get cassette bombs and some of them don't explode, but they are in the ground, and because of corn or whichever field you're working in,
you can't see it.
Sometimes it's hard to see it. So there have been cases when, one of the farmers, he ran on one of those cassette bombs.
Cassette bombs? I've not heard of a cassette bomb before. That doesn't sound good.
It's basically, they have a lot a metal bits inside of them, so it just spreads around. And there's a lot of shrapnel.
Are those allowed? I thought those were banned.
I think not.
I thought those were banned. So, okay, that's just another war crime then. Right, add that to the list.
I saw some of them landing in Kharkiv near, actually on the same day, near the school, near the kids' playground, and near the hospital.
Jesus Christ.
So 7 people got killed by those. And when you see a kid's playground, full of shrapnel.
It's just, I know. Do you remember that? There was that theatre. Was it Mariupol that had the big...
In Mariupol, they moved to,
Yeah, it had the word children written outside it in big letters that you could see from the sky, and they bombed it. Cluster munitions are banned, and so are vacuum bombs, and Russia have used both of them in this war, apparently.
Yeah.
So there we go. You just have to hope justice comes sooner or later. But it's day 97, and it doesn't look like it's about to end. But have all your family are okay, right? I mean, apart from the ones you're not talking to, but.
Well, the ones I'm not talking to, I'm not that worried about. You become an angry son of a bitch.
I can imagine, yeah, man.
I mean, both me and my wife, we have relatives that evacuated from Mariupol in March, and mid-March, I think it was 15th or 16th. They were very lucky that they managed to escape. It was disastrous, like going through, because you basically at that time had to go through 17 Russian checkpoints.
Jesus Christ!
But they were lucky because they were some of the first ones. And so, you know, like Russians still didn't know what to do. They didn't have proper orders. And I think it was more humiliating and more dangerous later on.
Yeah.
Like, you know, their laptops, money, everything got taken away. But my relatives got lucky. So, you know, they just went through. And actually, the funny thing is, one of her relatives, basically her relatives are from Donetsk region.
Okay.
So they were displaced back in 2014. They moved to Mariupol.
Oh.
And now they got displaced second time. And actually, there's been a lot of cases when, you know, people had to move twice. And Bucha was like a dream town for a lot of people from Donbass because it was like a young, vibrant town. So a lot of them went to Bucha.
My God. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so basically when they were going through one of the last checkpoints, there was a guy from Donetsk and he recognized him because they've been both in that town. They didn't know each other, but they've recognized each other, you know, seeing each other like before the war. This is such a strange experience because neither of them were happy, you know, like this guy has been sent, he's not out of his free will to you know, join Russia. This war, fighting basically, you know, his neighbors.
Right. And they're sort of seeing each other across opposite sides of the divide.
Yeah.
Both sort of powerless, both at the whims of greater forces. Oh my goodness, mate. How do you keep your spirits up? Because obviously, like, being surrounded by this day in, day out, it must just be so depressing, and you can't exist fully like that the whole time. You know, you've got to, I mean, I guess your child and your wife must help with that. How do you keep your spirits up?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, them, they definitely, you know, but for those, especially for those who got displaced, and if ever you are in a situation like that, first, what you need to do is to find yourself a job or a thing to do.
Right. Because
otherwise you go insane. You know, the amount of information, it just gets you more depressed. You got to do something. You're lucky if you can find something useful to do and helpful.
Yeah.
And that will actually help you keep up, you know, financially and help others.
Yeah.
So you got to find something, anything really, you know, anything. Like one of our gurus of marketing, Andrei Fedorev, we have this guy who's very proactive. You know, he's the top guy we have for marketing and advertisement. And he had always like multiple projects going on, and it's like doing this, doing that. And his motto is create whatever. And, you know, whenever you don't know what to do, create whatever. You have to create something.
I think that's good advice. Yeah, especially now because we've all got these smartphones. If you've got nothing to do, you're just going to endlessly, like you say, just scroll. There's always more information. There's always more terrible stories to just read and go down the rabbit hole, and you're just making life worse for yourself, and you're not helping other people in the meantime. So getting out there and being proactive. That's
So definitely find yourself something to do. I know it's been difficult on people from arts, but come on, you can always. I mean, like a lot of my fellow actors have joined armed forces. A lot of volunteering. I'm sure, you know, if you're doing something, you know, one thing leads to another. You meet new people. You definitely, like, if you've been displaced, go meet new people. You have to start a new life. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, it's very difficult. They feel very shy. They feel very vulnerable. So you have to overcome that fear. You have to you have to treat it as a new chapter, and it is a new chapter. Maybe one day you will go back to your house. If maybe it's still there. Maybe it has been destroyed. You have to be open to new things, and maybe actually it will get even better, because we have a lot of pensioners and they're holding to their pension, complaining in the East. You sit in the basement, there's no electricity, there's no nothing, you can do nothing, you're under constant shelling, you're going crazy, and you're complaining about pension not getting delivered. Well, guess what? There's nothing left.
Right.
There's, it's like, oh, they're not bringing any food to the stores. We cannot buy anything, and we don't have our pension.
Yeah.
So why are you still here?
Yeah.
So, guys, and especially if artillery comes to your town, that's it. You're out. There's no fucking options, because statistically, like Dnipro has been safer than Lviv for now, because there's been a lot of missiles that have been and rockets that have been hitting Lviv. Some casualties amongst civilians in Dnipro. We only had one guy who got killed, unfortunately.
Right. But only one since the start of the war isn't bad. Yeah.
Well, recently there's been shelling of the military base, and there's been some more people. They're trying not to give the numbers out.
Right.
That's been a strategy from Ukrainian armed forces. I completely support it.
Yeah.
Because it's very difficult. We need to do whatever it takes to keep our soldiers' spirit up.
Yeah.
And our military has been so great about this that some of the guys that serve together, sometimes they don't find out. So most of the doctors, they don't know the number. And I think it's going to be a very heartbreaking day when we will find out. Yeah.
It's just one of those really tough decisions that both ways seem just impossibly hard. But I think, it's I as far as I can tell, the leadership in Ukraine hasn't made too many mistakes. I think that's probably a good choice, unlike the leadership in Russia, which seem to have made loads of bad mistakes. But they seem to just have a lot of artillery. And I read I don't know if these reports about fighters coming from the Middle East, but I don't know if that ever happened. But apparently they had all these Syrian conscripts that were going to fight for Russia, but I haven't seen any of that actually.
I've heard that. Personally, I haven't seen any. I've heard that they would get paid something, for that, because they're there for money. But apart from that,
could have just been a lie. I'm looking it up now. Really. It was only in March, and it's the same news article planted in thousands of things. 40,000 troops from Syria, but I've never seen
they probably have been planning on that, but maybe guys from Syria decided that it's not worth it. A lot of people are refusing to fight this war in Belarus. Basically, the latest news I've heard is that military is not happy with going into the war, because there's a high chance that Lukashenko will give an order. So, and military is very unhappy with, because Lukashenko gets most of his support from police. And military is not happy with police either. So basically what might happen, if, they'll start an offensive, is that the military will try to kick the shit out of the police. So it's a bit of a civil thing, going on.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
That would be then that would be a problem Putin would have to deal with, because he's relying on Belarus for various things, isn't he? So I read this thing that a lot of the Russian dead are being taken to Belarus because similarly Russia don't want to tell mothers and fathers and etc. about people who've died, so they're just putting them into Belarusian morgues and just burying them and not telling people. And apparently the Belarusians are not particularly happy with this, just having thousands of Russian dead delivered into their hospitals.
It's also a question of money, because basically what you say is like, he was on a training and he's gone missing. I'm sorry, we're not going to pay you any compensation. Well, so sorry. Even without sorry, they never say sorry. He's missing in action.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Jesus Christ. Well, I hope Lukashenko chokes on a blini as well.
Tell me, what are things like in the UK?
Well, COVID's over.
What is this?
I don't know if you've heard. So that's all good. In terms of like the knock-on effects of the war, ever since it started, the prices have gone up and up and up. And there's been certain things that you can't buy. There's certain things that they're there, but they're quite rare, especially like sunflower oil, which will come as no surprise to you. Sunflower seeds, various fresh goods and stuff. And what is there is more expensive, and it's only going up. So there's a massive cost of living squeeze going on. And we have a government who are complete crooks. We have the first prime minister in history who broke the law while he was in office and just refused to resign. So that's good. Although he has been quite good, I would say, on Ukraine, apart from that one thing when he was like, this is their Brexit or whatever, like the most stupid thing I've ever heard.
You see, I've been following this because, in here, Boris Johnson is perceived as a knight in shining armor, a stylish guy with that crazy haircut. Basically, because nobody in Ukraine really knows, what he's been doing back in UK.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know he was one of the first foreign leaders in Kyiv, but he only arrived after all the Russian forces had withdrawn. So it's a good photo opportunity for him, and he's been talking.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
No, neither do I. It's just like you say, because you lived in the UK, that he's full of shit. So he will use any opportunity he can to make himself look good, but if regular Ukrainians benefit from that, then so much the better. That's fine.
I actually cool that you mentioned, him coming to the country, because I think it changes your opinion tremendously if you see things for yourself. Yeah. Because like before working as a fixer, it was all quite far from me, so like the first probably moment when I realized that it's actually how outrageous it is when one of my colleagues got killed. And at first I couldn't believe that, all the news. I thought it's just like some mistake, so I think it's very important, especially for those, who's been following it, to come and see it for yourself at some point.
Yeah.
I hope soon it's going to be, all safe. And, I think Ukraine will be a touristy place, not only because of war, but actually our restaurants, they are doing really well. Our like national cuisine, like, all the basically things that are Ukrainian that they have gotten. That's clothes, other companies. Because guys from LA, I took them to one of Ukrainian restaurants. They were very, very pleasantly surprised. Had some borscht, had some vareniki, which is like dumplings.
Nice.
So yeah. I mean, if any of you, dear listeners, will have a chance to come, and see it for yourself, I think that would be great. It would be, like mind-opening, and maybe you would be both pleased with service and prices. But first of all, service.
Right, that's the most important part. Yeah, I mean, hopefully someday soon it's a reality. That, I mean, because that seemed to be, I mean, obviously there was Crimea, but in general, the trend seemed to be Ukraine getting less corrupt, more prosperous, and popular president, and things seem to be heading in a good direction for the country. Obviously, Crimea was a terrible disaster, but there's always terrible disasters. But in general, it seemed to be. And then obviously now this is such an international tragedy. But we can only hope, like you said, with Finland and Sweden, right? Putin didn't want NATO closer to him. Well, now he's got it. Everything he doesn't want seems to happen because of his stupid actions. Hopefully it's the same with the outcome of the conflict, of the special operation. I don't know. Trying to be optimistic.
They get confused themselves, on those Russian propaganda channels. They start calling it war, and they're like, "Oh, well, yeah, yeah." It's interesting because, like, if you really listen closely to what they say, half of them should be put to jail according to their laws.
Oh, right.
Like a Putin spokesman, they were asking him, so like, how the fuck do we find out the news? It's like Facebook has been blocked by Russian, whatever that thing called, Ministry of Truth. And he was like, oh, you can use VPN. Putin spokesman. I'm using it. You can do it too.
Use my offer code Peskov16 to get 16% off.
Yeah, Peskov's mustache. Yeah, that has Putin's shit all over them.
Shit stash. Oh, fucking hell.
Oh, another thing that keeps you going, apart from and staying optimistic about from job is humor. Dark humor. Dark humor is the only humor.
Well, you've always had a dark sense of humor. Has it gotten darker since the? So I can only imagine it has, especially if you've witnessed shelling and all of the madness.
I think it's a surviving mechanism because I spoke to some of the grannies from like Bakhmut, that has been shelled like quite recently. And their houses, getting destroyed. And she was like, I'm laughing all the time. I cannot stop, because I've been crying for 3 days in a row.
Right. Yeah.
There's a good joke from our driver from Kramatorsk. So basically he works mostly for French press. And, he's trying, they drive to very dangerous places, those guys. And the front line, it was getting closer and closer to them. And somebody said, look, this is, and the situation about gas and LPG and petrol, because it's like, and in the East, it's very hard because most of the petrol stations, they don't have any petrol, they don't work. Right. So we're still sorting that out. And basically the front line is getting closer and closer. And one of the guys says, well, this is very good. This is very good that it's getting closer. That means we'll need less petrol.
Oh, my God.
To go around. And...
Yeah, it's right there. We can visit. Yeah, you got to laugh, haven't you? Absolutely. There's this expression in English. It's apparently like nurses or firefighters or army, police. It's called combat fatigue. It's like you've seen so many things that just stops like affecting you as deeply. It happens to some people. Obviously, the opposite happens to some people. They get like shell shock or PTSD or whatever you want to call it, and it affects them so.
It's the worst thing. We get used to blood.
Yeah, exactly.
Very quickly.
Yeah, and it can desensitize you in a. Sometimes it helps you survive, right? The same as humor does, but sometimes actually it the consequences are bad for your psyche, for the way you view the world, getting used to blood.
Yeah, it's unbearable.
Yeah.
But actually, because I've been working with UK Med as an interpreter. UK Med, it's part of NHS.
Okay.
So it's a volunteer organization, and we have a lot of medics, doctors, surgeons coming here and helping. Actually, we're doing one tomorrow about chemical attacks and about giving first aid to firefighters, to local volunteers, whoever can help. Because right now it's very important to know, how to put on a tourniquet, how to stop the bleeding, how to help with airways if anything happens. All like we saw with hitting that strike at the train station in Kramatorsk.
Right.
Because that in the end, I think around 62 people died. Most of them died right there. So it's like, if something like that happens, it's crucial to have that knowledge, to have something on you, or like these guys, they teach you how to use, whatever you have.
Yeah, just rip a piece of your clothing off and
get a pen and just make a handmade tourniquet.
Yeah.
So UK Med has been really great, and actually one of their doctors, he performed the surgery recently, and like the surgery unit, they came to Sumy, which is a area that got liberated, but there's still but the hospital there got shelled, so
okay, here we go. UK Med, it's this humanitarian health crisis happening.
These are the guys.
So these are the guys you're working with.
Yeah, doing really great job.
Okay, maybe I'll send people to donate to this time. That seems to be like that's helping. Might be easier for UK people to donate to it. Oh.
Well, it's not even about donation. It's just I want you guys to be proud of your guys, because they're here, they're with us. And actually what UK has been doing, I think they've been doing the most for Ukraine out of everybody.
Really?
So that should be acknowledged. Absolutely. And, secretly it's been said that British intelligence has been has been extremely helpful.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I know British intelligence fucking hates the Russians. They're always poisoning people over in the UK. So,
and I think some of Zelensky's speechwriters, they got some British class. I wonder where is that coming from.
Yeah. He's an amazing speaker. Yeah, he's given some amazing speeches.
It wasn't like that, like to me, Zelensky changed completely on during the Munich security conference. I think it was 18th of February. He did an amazing speech there. And after that, it was really well. I mean, as long as speechwriters are doing their job,
right.
Whenever he's off the leash, sometimes it's not that as good. And I really enjoyed his speech at the Cannes Film Festival. I'm not sure if you have been following.
Oh, no, I know. I saw that he gave one, but I didn't see the speech itself.
It's an opening speech because, they've been French, especially at Cannes, they've been worried about, it all getting political. They had an opening picture that was called Z, and the author, but that movie was made.
Yeah, nothing to do with it. It's just one of those coincidences.
And it's not a Russian director, but he agreed to change the title because, it's a very sensitive time. And they were worried, about getting too political. But Zelensky did a great speech. And, it was all around movies, actually. It wasn't how movies are connected to our life and to this particular moment in life. So he mentioned Great Dictator by Chaplin. He mentioned Inglourious Bastards. So, you know, it was really well put in terms of focusing on movies, because obviously, you know, film festival, it's first of all, it's celebration of film industry, and but you know, for following, have you been following Cannes Film Festival this year?
I saw a bit of it. I saw who won the what was it? Triangle of Sadness won Best Picture. Who I can't remember who won Best Actor Actress. I saw that as well. Best Director is he Norwegian or Swedish? I feel like
could be
Scandi. Yeah. So I followed it a bit.
Well, I haven't seen a single movie. I couldn't follow all of it. But let's talk about something that doesn't exist anymore.
Go on.
And I'm talking about Russian culture. That has been fucking buried, like you know, burnt to the ground, like one of our cities.
Yep.
So basically, at Cannes Film Festival, there was this director that they love at Cannes, Kirill Serebrennikov, and you know, he's a very talented director. You know, his pictures in the past, they were great. This was obviously not the time to invite him, you know, and Ukrainians were strongly against it. You know, Russian art, it has been banned everywhere.
Yeah.
Artists, musicians, everything went to shit.
Yeah.
Cannes Film Festival decided to invite Mr. Serebrennikov because, you know, he's like in opposition. He runs a theater in Russia. He was under a home arrest. And they let him out. You know, it happened so because he had a picture about the wife of Tchaikovsky. And he did a press conference. And at that press conference, he said that, well, you know, people like Roman Abramovich under sanctions, but Roman Abramovich has always been supporting art house and, you know, arts in general. And it's very important, you know, maybe we should get him off sanctions. And then he spoke about his friend Surkov, who is basically he's an ideologist for Putin, you know, for propaganda. He was like, well, this is just a civilian, you know, there's no need to put him under sanctions as well. And to top that all, because he went on, he said, well, look, you know, Russian art, you should not ban this. You know, Russians suffer as much as Ukrainians do, and even Russian soldiers and their families. I think we should financially support families of Russian soldiers because, you know, some of them have died and, you know, now they don't have a man in the family, and I will donate myself personally. And, you know, I invite you all to join me. So those guys who've been raping, killing people, children in butchers, you know, this is the opposite. This is, you know, this guy, he is considered to be like a liberal, like a pro-Ukrainian guy.
Jesus
in
Christ.
Russia. So what kind of art can we talk about, you know? And Zelensky does a speech about movies.
Yeah, well, right. Exactly. And that's horrible. That's horrible. But yeah, referencing the Great Dictator, have you seen that movie?
Oh, of course. It's one of my favorites.
It's incredible. That speech by Chaplin, I'll link it so that people can watch it. It's relevant.
Oh, yes, please.
So relevant. I mean, it's an incredible speech.
Do you know the singer Paolo Nutini?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
I think he's from Scotland. He's got this great song called Iron Sky. And in the song, there's a music video that's been shot in Kiev. I think it's the best music video that's been shot in Kiev ever. and it's got Chaplin's speech right towards the end of the song. You will, I think it's a masterpiece. It's been directed by Daniel Wolfe, I think. He's from UK. I think it's the best music video ever. You know, the combination of speech, song, footage. Yeah, guys, go check it out. A music video, Iron Sky.
I'll find that and link that as well. That sounds great. Yeah. I mean, I think you raise a really interesting point about Russian culture. It's like, you know, if even sort of a liberal is mouthing these talking points, it's a dire state. And I think part of it is, you know, all great art has some kind of conflict and it has to have freedom of expression. If you pass law after law making that type of thing illegal and beat up people and jail them for expressing themselves, then art starts to die. You're strangling it before it's even born. And, you know, people are killing ideas in their heads rather than turning them into books or movies or poems or whatever. And that's a really chilling effect. And that's very hard to turn around.
Well, I think they did a terrible job, really, back home. You know, if so many people have been brainwashed, then culture has failed.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's, I don't want to I don't want to just accuse, but, you know, Ukraine culturally has failed in the East and in Crimea. Culturally, we have failed because if we would build those bridges, it would be much easier.
But what do you say to people who say that, you know, there were Ukrainians who were killed in the East and then Russians shipped in a lot of Russian-speaking ethnic Russians, and then that's why all of that separatist movement happened, and that's, you know, that's not really Ukraine's fault. Is that's a narrative I've heard. I don't know how true it is or not. What would you say to that?
I'm sorry. Can you?
So what I've heard, now this might not be right. So
yeah,
but what I've heard is that over the course of before the conflict, Russians were moving thousands, hundreds of thousands, is what I heard, of Russian-speaking native, like Russian people into these separatist regions. And so then they're like, well, look, the people in these regions support Russia. And it's like, no surprise, because they're ethnic Russians, right? So then that starts to tip the balance of the local government and thought and army and police and stuff like that. So
there's that as well. And, you know, a lot of military guys were coming there, you know, to train. And it was very useful for them because, I mean, we had the war going on since 2014. So those guys, they were going on training because, you know, it's very useful to train in this circumstances. It differs, you know, from trainings, you know, when you actually have a war situation. Then, so a lot of them were coming to train. And it's not out of good life, you know, they were just coming there to make some money. Because, like, you know, in Russia, you would get, like, I don't know, 30,000 rubles. Here you would get, like, 200,000.
Yeah, it's a very different thing. Yeah. So yeah, I would say Ukrainian culture is definitely under attack. But you know what it reminded me when you're talking earlier about people like joking and stuff? There's obviously in the UK, there's this famous thing called the spirit of the Blitz when we were being bombed, and it's somehow made people more close, more together. And I think the world has seen that kind of reaction from Ukraine. That's very brave and standing up and fighting for their life. And I think it's difficult. It's one of the most difficult things anyone can go through is war. But I think it will make you stronger culturally, actually, eventually.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you've seen Eurovision, Kalush. You know,
yes, I did. That was incredible. And the UK came second.
And but it's I'm glad that because I never I must be honest, I'm not a fan of Eurovision, but
you surprised me, Rob. I thought it'd be just your thing.
But I'm very glad that they are open enough, they understand the circumstances, and that it wasn't recepted as a political, but it's a humanitarian thing.
That's right.
Different with Cannes Film Festival. Going back to it, I'm sorry. This is just like it got on my nerve. We have this director Loznitsa, who's been shooting movies in Russia, in Ukraine, but he's been living in Germany and France for like the last 20 years. That's where he mostly would get financed. He's a documentary filmmaker, but sometimes he makes fictional films. And for some reason, because he was born in Belarus, but I think he had the Ukrainian citizenship. I'm not sure about it, but most of the time, everybody thinks about him as a Ukrainian director.
Right.
At least that's what they write.
Right.
And he did a film about Donbass. Mm-hmm. And that film, that's a very, very strong, well put together picture. Actually, that's could be useful to watch.
What's it called? Do you know?
Donbass.
Donbass. Okay, there we go. I'll look that up.
But now, after what he got an award for one of his new films, and basically he dedicated his whole speech to the fact that we should stop banning Russian culture, and blah blah blah, and I mean, what a choice of time and place.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand what he's saying, about some timeless things, like even about Chekhov,
Right.
But that's not going to go anywhere.
No, I know. That's what I've thought about that. It's like, they ban like a Tchaikovsky or a performance of the Seagull or whatever it is. It's like, that's just a temporary reaction to the ridiculousness of the situation. And it's an attempt to show solidarity. It doesn't mean Chekhov has been cancelled. Okay. It's ridiculous. It's like, it's a solidarity thing.
So put on stop, put on pause.
Yeah. Let's put on pause.
I mean, if Russia will survive, which is questionable to me, then it will take them, I guess, another 50 years before any culture will come from it. That's what made me angry, because Loznitsa, he should have been talking about Mariupol. He should have been talking about the East. He should have been talking about all the museums that have been bombed. If you don't want to talk about people getting killed, but you stand for arts, and the first thing that Russian art should do is to apologize to Ukrainian art for all the destruction that it has done to our books, to our paintings, all the looting that has been happening. First, you apologize, and
absolutely,
because it's like, oh, please stop banning us because we're so. No, you don't get it. This is not the point.
Yeah, it's like, what's worse, to be banned or to be bombed? It's like they're killing the artists, they're killing the places they make art, they're killing the artwork that they make. That is far worse.
And it's not saying, it's like I'm. You can do whatever. You can make pictures about Hitler, about Putin, once it's safe for everybody.
Right.
Obviously, in this situation, we're not safe. And there's a director, I'm not sure if you've met him, he has this theatre company in London called Theatre Collection, Victor Sobchak.
Oh, the name rings a bell.
Yeah, a lot of actors in London went through his productions because basically it's unpaid, but you get something to do. Right. Most of the time he would choose some classical pieces. Nabokov, he loves Russian classic, but he also does European classic. I mean, Lorca, this is the guy who produces like a show like every 2 weeks,
Right.
So yeah, the quality of them is questionable.
Yeah, high turnover.
I'll be honest, directing them, it's not worth it. The only thing that saves it is actors, because they're eager, they are hungry, so they're trying to do whatever they can to express themselves. I worked with this guy long ago, but lately he's been, like posting even before the war has started, like all those things that US and UK and everybody like Europe is trying to destroy Russia, and it's like pro-Putin kind of bullshit, and that Ukraine is full of Nazis and Nazis are like killing children, and Zelensky is supporting Nazis and he's a Nazi himself, a Jewish boy who got scared. And there's nothing more scary than a scared Jewish boy like Zelensky. He is so dangerous is because he got scared and he stayed. Actually, a lot of soldiers, and this is a very human thing. If you ask like a lot of guys in our military, then they say, we are fucking scared. Of course we're scared.
Of course.
We may die.
Yeah.
We have families, that we had to send to Europe, so they're safe, and our kids.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
I mean, some are fearless, which is cool. Some are scared.
But they're all human, aren't they? So of course.
Yeah. Which is great.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's a lot of great people, and I've never been more proud of so many people standing up.
Yeah.
Even if you're scared, you're standing up.
Yeah. Well, I'm proud of you, dude. I mean it. I've been really impressed seeing what you're doing. I think it's really brave. I know you're not going to say that yourself, and that's fine, but I can say it, and I mean it.
Well, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of your country and what your people are doing. It's really something. We've been thinking, I was talking to my friends about this, because like so many conflicts before that, we may not have paid attention to, and it's a shame, and it's a lesson to be learned that, that we should, and we're very overwhelmed with the attention we got. I feel sorry, for the prices going up, and it's not, being like, trying to make you think that I care. I actually care, like my friends in Austria, their bills went up. It's not good. It affects people, of course.
Yeah.
So, whenever you're donating, and that's what has been people saying, like on presenters on our TV channels, the first thing is make sure you have enough money to go on, then donate. There's no point in you giving the last money and then,
yeah, absolutely.
Doing any harm for yourself.
Yeah.
Small donations are absolutely cool. Yeah. Don't go crazy. Because I wouldn't call it crazy, but I was trying to donate as much as I could the first months, and I looked in the wallet.
Yeah.
I went, okay. Hold on.
Yeah. There's that thing in gambling. You only gamble as much as you're willing to lose. I think it's a similar thing with donation. It's like, don't bankrupt yourself to help others.
If it's a question of getting a new Bentley, then yeah, maybe you are fine. Go on. Go all in.
Dude. Well, you've been very generous with your time. Anything else you want to talk about before we?
I'm so happy we're doing this again.
I am too, man. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And
the most important thing that I forgot to say about our master from Drama Center, Paul Goodwin. He is secretly, it's a military secret, but I'll tell you guys. He's rehearsing a one-man show based on Macbeth.
Okay.
And he's been asking me for a good Ukrainian composer, so I suggested a composer and a producer that I've been working with at Misanthrope Theatre, Dmitry Saratsky. So together, I'm sure they will create something beautiful. I think he's gonna do like his first runs in Italy. I think he's rehearsing already, putting it on his feet. And if it'll get picked up, then I'm sure he's gonna do it in London as well.
Okay, watch this space. Okay, look at you talking to Paul Goodwin.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, to me, Paul, you know, it's a very dear teacher, because I think he has this rare talent of making people in love with Shakespeare. And it doesn't matter whether you're a street chav or I don't know. I think if in fucking that thing that doesn't exist, that Russia, if they had teachers like Paul, I don't think they would have enough idiots to support this bloody war. I think they would. No, seriously, Shakespeare is a great thing. I was doing a show with Guy Kazim. We were actually performing Macbeth. I think it was back in 2011 or something like that. It was during the riots, if you remember, when there were like student protests and stuff. Like a lot of places were on fire.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And
I remember me and Kazim, basically one of our shows got canceled because there was a crowd that they were going in the direction of the theater where we were performing. And on the way home on the tube, Kazim said, like, some of my mates, they're there in those crowds and they're looting, you know, because like some of the windows got smashed, you know, when people were stealing stuff from shops.
Underwear.
Well, you know, they were more classy than Russian orcs. We were actually on this in one of the carriages, and across from us, there was a group of teenagers. They had suspiciously brand new shoes, you know, New Balance, or I don't know, Nikes, Adidas. And in the middle, there was this dude that was holding a massive TV screen.
Okay, yeah, like you do. Nothing to see here.
You can obviously tell where they're coming from.
Yeah. Where's the cardboard box? No, they didn't have any left. I just took it like this.
Did you get a receipt? Yeah.
The machine wasn't working. There's no receipt.
Yeah, and Kazim said, well, look, some of my friends, and then he grew up in a rough area. He's like, some of my friends are out there looting, and David Cameron just came back, and one of them is an idiot. He stole like a OK magazine. Then he got sentenced for like 40 days. God.
He's the one who got caught, and all he did was
really out of everything he could have stolen. Playboy.
Yeah, right. He's like, ooh, okay. I wonder what the tabloids are up to this week. Ooh, what's Jordan been doing?
But the next thing Kazim said, and it's like, I'm so grateful to theatre, and like for the fact that, you know, I'm doing Macbeth now. Because if not theatre, I would be out there with those guys.
Right. I think that's a really good point.
So culture, it's something you really have to invest into. You have to keep on doing. So, you know, if ever you're at war, you're out of work, there is work you can do. It's just, unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't pay. But I'm sure people would be willing to donate whatever they have. You know,
absolutely,
because they need culture. They need to get together. That's why we see, U2 coming to Kyiv Underground Station.
Yeah, that was an amazing story. Yeah, amazing story. That crazy. Although
I'm sure Rolling Stones wanted that spot, but it was taken already. We even had, you know, some of the memes that, you know, there's Billie Eilish and Rolling Stones, and they're waiting to perform at some like Chernigivska station, and it says it's fully booked.
I saw some memes about that U2 concert as well. There's people being like, haven't the Ukrainians suffered enough? It's funny. Dude. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. Let's talk again. Let's do it again.
Thank you. If there's anything else I can do, I would be happy to do like a, I don't know, list of people I think that are good to donate to, who are close to frontline, who are supporting military. Yeah. Also animal rescues. I know that some people don't want to support armed forces. This is totally cool. You know, we have refugees that need help. We need kids that need help. We need animals that need help. So whatever you guys into.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's this amazing place I've read about in Pimlico, a Cat's Cafe.
Oh yeah, I've been to Cat's Cafe once before.
Have you been there?
Oh. Lady Dinah's Cat Emporium. Yeah,
I'm dreaming to go there.
It's great.
I'm dreaming to go there.
It's hilarious. Yeah, I would definitely recommend it.
And to take our cat there, you know.
I don't know if they allow you to bring your own. BYOC, bring your own cat.
Oh, we can do a Zoom tea party, I'm sure.
Yeah, dude, send me that list. I'll attach it all to the.
Thank you. Maybe some movies, you know, music. We have amazing artists, and you know, it's a combination of traditional music with rap. Like, you know, Kalish Orchestra, it's a bit in that direction. We have more like Daha Bracha, and they did some great, they had some great gigs in London and all over the world. And BBC actually filmed, did a great footage of one of their concerts.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. You have to, like, the more the merrier. Send me all the things. I've got about 50 billion tabs open from our conversation. So lots of exciting stuff to check out. And send me more. So little time to go through everything. I know.
Okay, and I hope the next time we speak, I mean, not that I want to speak rarely, but we'll celebrate victory.
Yes, hopefully we'll be raising a glass to celebrate victory. Absolutely, my friend. Well, stay strong, keep fighting the good fight. Stay brave,
You
man.
too, brother.
Nice one.
Hello to all of our friends.
Cool. Take care, man. Take care.
You too. Hello to Caitlin and everybody.
Thanks for listening to the show. If you've enjoyed it, please give us 5 stars and consider becoming a subscriber and maybe even supporting us on Patreon. Really helps me continue making this show. If you haven't enjoyed it, then you can fuck off. Many thanks to Nils Hennis Steer for the amazing music and to Dave Fox for the cool artwork. Please keep coming back every week for more Bliss of the Abyss.
Message 1.